Maryland is so kind of partisan. It goes right down into the roots of everybody. That even the brothels were sort of you had Union sympathising brothels and Secesh, what were known as Secesh brothels. So the madams of the Secesh brothels would actually charge double or even triple the rates to Union soldiers if they stayed. And they often and the prostitutes of Baltimore, I believe it's in the Market Street district is where many of the brothels were. They actually kind of became unintentional spies in a lot of cases because they're naturally they're picking up the soldiers are kicking their boots off and relaxing and wanting to have a good time, so they're going to get a little bit loose-lipped and probably quite drunk as well. So a lot of prostitutes actually ended up as unintentional spies. Maryland, and the reason again I wanted to tell you about Maryland is because it is one of those states. I think this state more than any other where the kind of factions within factions, wheels within wheels kind of element to this whole thing of there being so many different shades to it. It's all there in Maryland.
Yeah, and also
the full kind of gamut.
Also, I find it very interesting how both capitals were so actually fairly close together.
Yeah, very. Yeah. Washington is just over the Potomac River from Richmond, and so it is kind of weird to think of. There is so much fighting that goes on throughout the whole country, and you have the kind of Trans-Mississippi Western Theater, you have the Eastern Theater ranging all the way up and down the coast, and at the same time, you're really the crucial points are right next to each other. There's one river between them, and what's so frustrating for Lincoln for so much of the war while he has McClellan in charge is McClellan is camped out outside of Richmond. He's right there.
Yeah.
He could just at any point march on Richmond and just call it a day and just finish them off. But he just won't do it. He's constantly Lee outmaneuvers him and will put the South are very good at kind of dummy tactics. So in the Second World War we famously had the kind of blow up tanks that to fool the Germans into thinking we had more tanks than we did. Yeah. Well, the Confederacy did this with cannons, so they would paint logs black, and they would prop them up on wheels and then they would also light fires in various places, and they would often move soldiers through the same area several times. So if they knew there was a scout from the enemy kind of watching them, which there always was, to report back on numbers. I can't remember who it was, but he knackered his regiment out because he just made them march out through this clearing in a forest. He just made them march and kind of come wheel around and march back through all day, just to make it appear as though there was this endless column of soldiers. Yeah, so the South were brilliant. The South were brilliant at that. They had a kind of an incredible way of using a small force very, very effectively and sort of fooling the North.
You always think like the scout that sat on the hill, like trying to figure out how many soldiers there are, and he sees the same guy go past, but he's got like a fake moustache on the second.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I swear I've seen him before.
Groucho Marx glasses and nose and all that stuff. Yeah. I've seen you before.
It's like he must have a twin. Oh, he must have a few twins in that case. But
yeah, exactly. They're all brothers, aren't they? It's all big families.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the other interesting thing about Maryland. Which I've forgotten to say before, is that you actually there is a battle. Now maybe I can put this up in the subtitles because I can't remember it right now. But there is a battle at which the 1st Maryland from the Union Army and the 1st Maryland from the Confederate Army actually fight one another. And you literally have brothers shooting brothers. It is very very, very poignant indeed. And you do often have moments throughout the war, especially in this kind of phony war period that I told you about, where you have the Battle of Bull Run and the North are kind of licking their wounds and McClellan's feeling very uncertain, and so you have sort of 6 to 8, I think it's 8 months, where sort of nothing happens into the beginning of 62, and you often had men who were sort of camped out very near each other from opposing sides, who knew each other and would actually go and meet up and just swap letters and chat and reminisce, friends, brothers, all this kind of stuff. So it is an extraordinarily personal, as you said before, fratricidal war. It has that very poignant feeling to it, where people who went to school together
Yeah.
could be now killing one another.
Well, yeah, because I guess it's like it's also that a lot of times with war, there's that kind of there's a winner and a loser, and the winners celebrate, the losers kind of just go along with whatever happens and
Yeah,
deal with it. But in this
yeah.
situation, there are no winners. Like that, it's you have like that moment where you've won the battle, and it's like, oh wow, okay, a big achievement or whatever. But then you realize that actually all the people you killed were just people that you knew, or they're this from the same town from as you, or they're from the same state, or so on. Like it doesn't really
Yeah.
doesn't it hits different in that way, I think.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I should say as well, the fact that you have mirrored regiments from the same state on different sides, you'd think, well, hang on a minute, if Maryland never seceded, it's part of the North, and therefore surely all of the military units that are formed in that state would be in the Northern Army. But it's not the case, because of course if you were a Southern sympathiser, as many Marylanders were, you would just sort of take off one day with all your there were sort of militias and people at military college who would basically just take all of their weapons that they had, take their uniform, or rather not their uniform, because they're gonna swap over into Confederate grey, but they would ride down out of the state into Virginia and then form up a company to turn back around and attack against their own state. So, and you had this the other way around too. So in North Carolina there were which again upper South, not quite a border state in the same way, but still upper South and ambivalent to a great extent, as we'll explore in a minute. But you have northern. You have several units formed from North Carolina soldiers in the Northern Army. Those who go north. So it's again, it's just it all goes to show the extent to which this is not just a line in the sand above and below which everything is clean cut. It's incredibly messy,
Yeah,
and people's loyalties are massively divided, even within families,
yeah,
all the way down
absolutely.
to the level of brothers.
Yeah.